There's a young man named Scott Pressler who goes by the Persistence on X, and you've probably seen him. He's a big, tall guy with long hair, and he goes out and is kind of a one-man machine, registering people to vote. And it's people like Scott and, of course, our colleague and friend Charlie Kirk and many others who are just warriors. They are in the trenches, getting people registered to vote, convincing young people that our way is the better way. And Scott posted something today that I think should resonate throughout the land. And if you've seen Scott, and I've interviewed him on a number of occasions over the years, he is very persistent, and he is just fearless, and he's very humble, kind. Yeah, he seems like a really good guy. And he wrote on X today a warning to Republicans. He said, "I'm on the ground every single day talking to voters. If Republicans don't get their act together to codify President Trump's agenda, DOGE, no tax on Social Security, you will lose the midterm elections. I say this peacefully and professionally." He is absolutely 100% correct. You know, yesterday, Trump's tariffs were dealt a real setback by this 3-judge panel called the Court of International Trade. And I heard a lot of analysis over the last 12 hours about it. Heard a great interview on Chris DeGaule's show this morning on the Salem News Channel and Salem Radio Network. Smart guy from Heritage saying, look, you can't always scream that these are activist judges. In this case, you had a Reagan appointee, a Trump appointee, and an Obama appointee on this little noticed Court of International Trade. And they declared that Trump's global tariffs are illegal. Now, Trump has, as the guest told Chris and the audience, lots of levers to pull, lots of other paths. This is far from over. If you think the tariffs are dead, you're delusional. They're not. But to Scott Pressler's point, Republicans have to control what we can control. And this is what so many of you are saying to me over and over again. I get it in text messages. I get it in phone calls. I get it in emails. I get it when I speak in groups and I meet people in public. Republicans better not blow it, because Trump and the administration is up against this buzzsaw of a judiciary effort to stop his agenda. We understand that. It's all they've got. The only way they can they lost the election, and they can't get over it. They've lost young people, and they can't get over it. You ought to see some of the characters they're trying to cobble together to win over young Democrat voters. Good luck with all of that. Look, Republicans have to control what they are able to control. We better see no tax on Social Security. That was a promise. That's part of Trump's mandate. DOGE was a promise. DOGE has been enormously popular. And I fear we have too many Republican representatives who are immersed in the swamp, and they don't know any better. They don't know any other way other than to be in the deep state and to be establishment politicians who don't deliver the Trump agenda. You know, I've been urging unity, but we also have to remember that Republicans cannot fail us. And it's all on Congress right now. Here's Senator Ron Johnson on Fox Business Network pointing out, and he's been sounding the alarm about irresponsible spending and increasing the deficit. Here he was on Fox Business yesterday.
DOGE has shown us the way. You have to go line by line, contract by contract. I think a small business probably spends more time going line by line through its budget than Congress does through a $7,000 billion a year budget. again, we do it the same old way. Most things are off budget. 75% of the budget is mandatory spending. We can address that in reconciliation. I would ask the question, where are the rescission packages so we can codify the DOGE savings? I'm listening to Elon Musk over the weekend, pretty disappointed in this House package as well. If I were him and all the work he put into DOGE, and we maybe stop spending the money, but I don't know if they can eliminate it by impoundment. That's going to be subject to the courts. We need to actually incorporate that into rescission packages so we can eliminate that spending.
We need to be paying attention to him. Americans need to listen to him. Congress needs to listen to Senator Ron Johnson. He also had a message for President Trump.
I've completely taken Medicare and Social Security off the table when I do those pre-pandemic options. Listen, we need to reform the Obamacare portion of Medicaid. That's what's putting at risk Medicaid for the vulnerable, for disabled children. Again, we're all going to repeal and replace Obamacare, but now people are defending it. But again, you can even eliminate Medicaid. I've shown that, and there's still hundreds of billions of dollars, a couple $100 billion in discretionary, a couple $100 billion in other mandatory that is above and beyond 2019 outlays, plus up for population inflation. Fully inflated 2019. There's literally about $400 to $500 billion of spending that's above those levels. So again, go back there as a business person would. This would be a 5-minute conversation in a business. Say, guys, I told you could increase your budget based on inflation and the number of customers we serve. You're 10% above that. Cut it. Get back down to a reasonable level. We need President Trump to lead on this. He needs to be fully committed to not funding the deep state at President Biden's levels.
President Trump needs to be fully committed to not funding the deep state at Joe Biden levels. Isn't he right? Isn't Scott Pressler right? Let me repeat his very brief plaintive cry on X today. A warning to Republicans: if Republicans do not get their act together to codify President Trump's agenda, you will lose the midterm elections. And I will tell you this, if we lose in the midterms next year, we are in so much trouble. This country, Trump will be facing impeachment on an hourly basis. They will do everything they can to destroy any chance of Trump and the MAGA agenda succeeding. Look, we got our hands full. Don't give up. Don't lose faith. Remember the immortal words of Rush Limbaugh. I want to play this a lot. Today is a good day. I'm hearing this message in my head from the late, great Rush Limbaugh.
Well, let me just tell you, folks, it's never going to be time to panic because we're never going to give up. We're not going to give up on America.
Absolutely, Rush. We're not going to panic and we're not going to give up. Hope you agree. Let's find out. Welcome in. Our number is 800-655-MIKE. We're in the Relief Factor studios. A busy breaking news Thursday. 800-655-6453. Off to your phone calls and your reaction, your calls, your texts. Again, 800-655-6453. I want to get Ron Johnson back on the show. I've interviewed him a number of times. I think it's time to get Senator Johnson back on the Mike Gallagher show because the man, I think, is a truth teller, and we are in real need of his message right now.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.